Well, joining us is Guillaume Guibault. He's the founder of Le Slip Français. Thank you for being with us.
Hard to translate.
How to translate that? Well, it's the French briefs.
Yes, it's the French brief. It's a company...
As in underpants, just so we know.
Yes, as a pair of briefs, exactly. I started the company 7 years ago. We're a brand of underwear, swimwear, and accessories entirely made in France. And we're going to do this year 26 million euro turnover. We work with 120 people in the company, our own people. And we work with 27 factories around France, producing every day 1 million pieces of textile and selling most of them in France. 90% of our sales are in France. And we are building this company with the vision of a fashion that would be local, durable, and try to think of a long term and not trying to do overproduction all the time and trying to find new ways of creating cool products.
New ways of creating cool products. Your reaction when you saw those images of that picket line outside of that big Amazon warehouse near Orly Airport?
I'd say it's very French. We're known for our je ne sais quoi, notre art de la surprise, and we're fond of doing things differently. So I see a lot of question about this Black Friday thing, and people want to. I think it's a long-term trend that people want to understand how the products they consume are made, who is actually making them, where, and how. And in fashion, it's very true. We, in the global fashion industry, puts on the market 100 billion pieces a year. And in France, it's the equivalent is 10 kilos of clothes that every French person buys each year, and only 3 kilos of those 10 are recycled or given. So every year we do plus 7 kilos in our wardrobes, and we don't need this much clothes. So
there was a survey done by YouGov. They said 2/3 of the French own an item of clothing, or at least one item of clothing that they've never worn.
Yeah, and I think it's global, but maybe the French realized it before, I don't know. But and you see a lot of new ways of buying fashion, either Vinted or Le Bon Coin, vintage fashion or secondhand or even renting. And there are a lot of American examples, just kind of rent the runway that's renting clothes. So people want to come to new ways of actually buying clothes. And
can't rent underpants.
That's our point, and we want to be the company that puts on the market products that you have to buy, that you have to buy new, and we want to produce them in a local manner and have to
with a longer shelf life.
Yeah, exactly, and think of a carbon footprint and make them as sustainable as we can, and it's a long trend, and it's not the way the industry thinks, but we believe it's the way for the future.
Okay, because foreigners, they come to France.
Yes.
And they're a little surprised because Christmas, there's a lot of shopping, and then there's the sales. The sales in the UK, they start on Boxing Day, December 26th. Here, sometime in mid-January, the prefecture, that is the central authorities from the state, will decide that you can sell the the stuff you didn't sell during the Christmas season. Is this a good thing?
The way I see it is that we think a lot of things through common sense. When you produce clothing, at some point you do mistakes. You buy more of blue underpants, whereas you sell a lot of red ones. At the end of the season, you want to discount them because you don't want to keep them, so you discount the price. But if you start producing to discount, then you put your finger into a vicious circle, and that's what you do for Black Friday. When you start discounting your items at 50, 70% discount, that means there's something wrong, and you're not paying the fair price either to your customer or to the people that are actually making the products. So our idea is that you need to have the same price all year long. That's a fair price. That's giving enough money to every people in the chain. And maybe it's a strange way that we do in France, but sales, in my opinion, should be done for products that you don't need and you're not going to be selling, but not for products that you're going to sell big time during Black Friday or other commercial events.
Because the critics of the French system say, why should the state decide when the sales are on?
Yeah, I guess it's very French, but the idea is that, and I know there's the government is talking about maybe forbidding Black Friday for next year and saying it's too aggressive in the way we do promotions, and I think.
On environmental grounds?
Yes.
Or is it also, because there are two issues right here. There's the environmental issue, which you've described, but there's also the issue of small retailers like yourself who make the products locally, sell them locally, and are trying to compete
against Amazon and other bigger players that do a lot of online. So yeah, it's a
But is online itself a bad thing, or is it
No,
more the
because-
fact that the products?
the way we see it, we do 60% of our sales online on our own website, and that allows us to sell from the factory in France directly to the end customer. So it's a good way. But what we don't want is use the web to buy products at the other anywhere in the world and discount them and sell more and more just because you make people believe that they need those products and when they don't really need them. And Black Friday, I think, does not make people a lot more happier the next day, but it makes a lot more money in the companies. And I think it's a question of the role you want to put in the company. Does it really exist to actually make money, or does it need to try to do things on a larger scale and try to have a purpose? And it's the whole thing about B Corporation and
Okay, so Parisian hipsters, they're going to buy your product. They do already by the looks of it. You're doing very well. But the question is, people who live in other parts of France who don't have the means, do they care about these issues such as the fact that you pay perhaps more, you have a bigger tax burden proportionally than a company like Amazon does? Do they care about these kinds of issues?
I think they do in the long term. Of course, there's an issue of a price point. Of course, we know our products are a bit more expensive, but we don't sell to just Parisian hipsters. Actually, we sell to people all around France, and our clients are people that are in all part of France, and we're very proud of this. And we think it's a long-term issue because if we put more money into local production, then we can reinvent the way we do our products and put money on the table. Instead of going further and further to produce cheaper and cheaper, we can put money on the table and invent new machines that can leverage productivity and in the end sell cheaper products that would be made on demand and locally in France, and not just go further and further to produce products that are not as qualitative as the ones we can do here.
Let me ask you finally, there's been in the past year a phenomenon that's unfurled across the planet, and that is this 16-year-old teenager, Greta Thunberg.
Yep.
In her family, they don't exchange Christmas presents, or they give each other stuff they already had that they want to recycle and stuff. Is that a good thing? Is that the next step?
I think if you take opportunity of days like this, like Black Friday, to try to explain to people what's actually behind the product you buy. I mean, a piece of clothing, it's a product that people make by hand, literally by hand. So when you buy a product €5, how can you pay the fair price? So if all the companies go to more sustainable ways of producing, then Christmas, of course, and I hope will be still a joyful moment when people exchange gifts. And maybe that's a bit too extreme, I don't know, but it's important that us local and small companies try to push forwards new ideas and new ways of producing and thinking the way we interact with customers and the whole chain of production. And
is there a gap between what customers tell you and their actual consumer behaviors?
Of course, we know we're on the front, and we know we're maybe a bit ahead. But that's our role as entrepreneurs, and that's what we like to do. So we don't want to do like everybody else. I guess it's very French, but yeah, let's hope it's going to be a global. And I think it's going to be. I know in the US, B Corp is a very strong movement, and Patagonia is the example that everybody is quoting, and it's an American company. So let's hope companies are going to grow and change for the better in the future.
All right, your brand is called Le Slip Français. Guillaume Guillemot, thank you for being with us.
Thank you very much.